The networking aspect has been absolutely phenomenal. Everyone here is just so eager to learn and reach out.
So you're not only learning from the speakers, but you're learning from the people that are sitting right next to you in the room.
You build lifelong friendships. I have some friendships here that every year it's like coming home and coming back to family.
You come back to people who understand you, who understand your job, who understand the challenges you're facing, and you can't do that at any other conference.
I love MADS. I just keep coming back every year.
MADS is my go-to marketing analytics conference.
There's so much great information, really awesome speakers, a lot of really awesome networking opportunities.
MADS is special, and I've never seen another conference quite like it.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Amanda with the Content Marketing Institute. So happy you're joining us this afternoon for another special Content Marketing World edition of Live with CMI. I'm so excited, as always, to be joined by my partner in crime here, JK. JK, we're just 2 weeks out from Content Marketing World, which means I'm excited, but also really busy, right?
Yeah, what's sleep, right?
Right, we were just talking about that.
No, I am, Amanda, I cannot tell you how excited I am. Like, yeah, every day I open up my LinkedIn, my emails, and just seeing the groundswell of just excitement that's coming from the folks that are attending and seeing people posting pictures from the past. And I think the fact that we're moving out to San Diego has a lot of people very excited this year. So
yeah, I know I'm excited for some warm, sunny Southern California weather. Yes. So as we gear up here for Content Marketing World 2024, as we said, is in San Diego, October 21st through the 23rd. We've been interviewing and we'll continue to interview some of our few awesome speakers as we gear up here, right, JK?
That's right. As a matter of fact, today we have a great interview with our friend Juntae Delane about harnessing the power of podcasting, which is a really great interview.
Yes, a really interesting topic that a lot of people are interested in. So before we get to all that, as always, we want you to know this live stream is brought to you by the Content Marketing Institute. We are the leading training and education organization for all things content and marketing. In fact, tomorrow, it's a big day for us. We are releasing our most popular research report, our B2B content marketing benchmarks, budget, and trends report for 2025. And it's hard to believe, but it's the 15th year for that report, which we always produce with our friends at Marketing Props. And here's a quick little look at some of the eye-opening results here. A whopping 58% of B2B marketers rate their content strategy as merely moderately effective. Nearly half of those say their strategy struggles because they lack clear goals. 45% say they lack a scalable model for content creation. And the biggest challenge, which isn't really a surprise here, is the lack of resources. So you will be able to find that B2B report out tomorrow over at contentmarketinginstitute.com. JK worked on it. Our whole team worked on it. A big report for us every year. All right. So as you join us today, give us a virtual wave. As always, let us know where you're joining us from. We really want to hear from all of you. So drop a comment or a question there in the comment section as we go along. If you've been to Content Marketing World or you're going to Content Marketing World, let us know in there. Or if you haven't been there and have a question about it, we'd love to answer any questions you have about the event. As I said, we are now 2 weeks away, and so we're doing a fun little promotion this week, sailing into savings. So if you use code SAIL200, you can save $200 on your registration. So if you were on the fence, here you go. Here's a little incentive, hopefully, to get you to come along to the event. I don't know if you heard, but we are super excited. Issa Rae, right, JK, is the keynote speaker.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. And, you know, come on, President Barbie.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. My kids are jealous. She will be interviewed by Aisha Harris. She's the co-host of NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour podcast. So that will also be super fun. So, and as always, you know, we say this every time, but if you're going to be there, let us know. Drop it in the comments. We'd love to meet you in real life. There's always plenty of opportunities for us all to like connect, and we love to meet all of our community members. So be sure to let us know. So as we get started here with today's live stream, I see Maggie is joining us from Minnesota. Thank you, Maggie, for joining us. Let's get the ball rolling here, JK, with the question of the day.
All right. The big question is, are you podcasting? And if not, what's holding you back? If you are, how successful has it been for you? We'd love to hear from you. And I'm a huge fan of podcasts. And this is the closest thing I do to a podcast, these live streams. So I'm a big listener, but I don't podcast. But it's something that I've been really considering. And after talking to Juntae, it made me really start thinking about, you know, dipping the toe in the water. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, we don't really have a podcast anymore per se, besides the live stream here. So it's definitely something to, like you said, after we chatted with him, something to consider. And in today's, like we said, in today's digital age, podcasts have emerged as a powerful tool for brands to connect with their audience in a very intimate and engaging manner, right, JK?
That's right. I mean, that's right. And, you know, like I said, our guest, Juntae Delane, he's the founder and chief strategist of Digital Delane. And he talked about how to leverage podcasts for marketing success. I mean, just a great interview. Let's roll it, Amanda. Let's take a look.
Juntae, thank you so much for joining us today. And there's no question that podcasts have seen a resurgence in the last few years. But just how powerful can it be for companies when they add it to their marketing mix?
Well, I think podcasts are an incredibly valuable tool for brands. And you should absolutely add it to your marketing mix, in particular because it provides your consumers with passive consumption, right? Meaning that they can consume the podcast during commuting hours or exercising or working and so on. But I think that it ultimately helps to enhance your brand authority, your thought leadership. You can showcase your expertise. You can discuss trends. And there's so many things that you're able to do with podcasts, and they have become very, very popular. So all brands should have some some interactions with podcasts, whether they're producing a podcast on their own or they're making sure that their stakeholders are actively guests on podcasts as well.
Well, that's great, Juntae. So let me ask you, because I think this leads into a follow-up question to that.
Sure.
So when somebody says, okay, I want to start a podcast, what are some of the first things you tell them you would suggest they need to consider? I mean, you mentioned, you know, like they perhaps better be taking some podcasts and have some stakeholders that are interested. But, you know, what are some of the main things that you forward on to people to say, hey, yeah, it's time?
You know what? One thing I would say is to make sure that you have time, right? To be consistent with podcasting. And unlike myself, I actually just started a podcast recently, and it was about 8 years coming. I bought all my equipment, and by the time I actually was ready to focus and start this podcast, all my equipment was outdated. Yeah, I had a new mic, I had an old school Mackie mixer with the twist knobs and things like that. Now, you know, technology has advanced, right? So now you have better mixers with multiple tools built in one, and so on. So one, I would say make sure you have focus on having the time to produce a podcast consistently, right? And there's certainly ways that'll allow you to do that much easier. But when we focus on, if you're looking to start that podcast, you want to make sure you have two considerations. One is your purpose and your audience, right? So with regard to your purpose, why are you actually starting this podcast? Are you looking to make connections within your industry, or are you looking to focus on establishing thought leadership? And then who's your audience? Is your audience, what's your audience care about? What challenges do they have? And are you able to address these points through this medium, right? And so when you figure out those two things, then you'll be able to take your podcast journey and run with it. But like I said earlier, the most important key is consistency when it comes to podcasting. So as long as you're able to dedicate the time to podcasting, you should be good.
And kind of going along with that, so you have those two things nailed down. So like, okay, we're going to do it. So when we're talking about the content or maybe the interviews that we want to get, so where do you suggest people start like looking for these ideas to fill this podcast that they now have to do?
Yeah, so I would first start off with your existing audience. What questions are they asking? What challenges do they face? You can go through old emails to see, provide some insight into topics. You can connect with your team to see what they're experiencing when engaging with your clientele. I also would recommend analyzing some of the competitors in the space, right? Sometimes your competitors may have different ideas, but your spin on those ideas may provide more value because it's under your lens, under your perspective, experience, and expertise. So you can then focus on leveraging things that are already put out by even some of your competitors and putting a unique twist on them. There's also other sites, obviously social media, doing some social media analysis and listening. You can go to question sites like Quora, things like that. That'll help you to provide some programming for content for your podcast as well.
Do you see any, like some people, so it might just be like answering your customers' questions, or is it more, do you think like interviewing either stakeholders or customer, like, or thought leaders? Do you find anything works better, or any suggestions, or just whatever you decide that you want to have the content to be? Like, is there any sort of mix there, or you think anything works better than the other?
Well, I think it really depends upon how much time and resources you have. So depending upon the programming of your podcast, there may be a lot of pre-production work that's needed. So you want to focus on, one, what resources do you have? If you're a solo podcaster, you may end up having to do a lot of the work, right? So if it's just a one-on-one interview, or if it's just a podcast where you're displaying your thought leadership and it's just you and the mic, those are different options. If you have more resources for pre-production, then you can have, multiple guests, panels, things like that, helping with editing and so on. So I think ultimately it depends upon the resource that you have that'll really dictate what type of podcast format you're looking to publish.
Let's hop back to you mentioned about having, like, when you first got into your podcast and you realized that you had outdated equipment. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the technical stuff. Let's talk about like the technical aspect. Like, what should they consider when it comes to the quality of the equipment that they need? Is there, you said that you kind of ran into some outdated issues. There's so much out there now. Do you suggest anything where, like, if somebody was just going to get started, where would you?
Yeah, you have a nice mic there.
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
One of the new ones. Yeah. So if you're looking to get started, that you have your sort of bare bones setup where you have maybe a small mixer or some software that you can add into your computer, and then a microphone. The microphone is pretty much the key to having a great podcast. And so there are plenty of mics on the market. You can start off by having just a USB input mic, like a Blue Yeti or something like that. And then you also can have a more advanced professional mic, like I have here, is the Shure, what is this, SB7, I believe. And so once you have the right mic, then you'll be able to look at the software that you're using to edit your podcast. You could use Audacity is a good, I believe, free tool as well. We currently use Adobe Audition. which is part of the Adobe Creative Suite for our agency. And we'll use that to edit. But there's plenty of software and even on your phone as well. So you can download some apps that may have the ability to record podcasts. Also, you can, when you're having a conversation with a guest, you can have your phone recording. There's other digital recorders that you're able to use as well, and splice in those interviews into your podcast. And so, the baseline here is the microphone, the mixer or software, and also an app that you can use with your phone. There's several apps out there that will allow you to record and add to your podcast.
What are your thoughts on, I know I've seen a lot of people say, like, if you're going to do a podcast, then you might as well do it as a video podcast. So then you can have a video, or you can have it as a podcast. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, does one matter over the other, or doing both? Does that make more sense? I'm just curious.
It's an interesting question, because I think my answer would be different if this was, let's say, 2 years ago. Right. I think now most podcasts also have a video component, but it really just depends upon your objectives. And so for us, we have a marketing agency, Digital Delane, and we're using our podcast to brand behavior as a way to create more awareness. And so we're looking for impressions and trying to get as many people as possible to consume our podcast content, whether that be through YouTube or whether that be through their podcasting app like Stitcher or Spotify. And so when we think about the strategy around audio first or audio and video podcast, my recommendation would be to have some parts of your podcast either on YouTube or all of the full episode on YouTube as well, because we know YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. So if there's someone that has a question about what you're covering, or you just so happen to cover that, you can find yourself in the middle of their search journey through YouTube as well. And then also when focusing on other ways to enhance your podcast. So you have people who are listening to your podcast through their audio app, and then they can have a completely different experience on YouTube. You can have some videos, pictures, B-roll, so on and so forth that you're able to add to enhance your podcast while consumers are listening on YouTube. So again, I would highly recommend also adding a video component to your podcast for search visibility purposes.
Great. And you just touched on this a little bit, but how do we measure the success of our podcast? Because I know a lot of times once you get started and you're not seeing a lot of the not views, but people listening or downloads. So how are you thinking about measuring the success of a podcast?
Yeah, so there's many different ways. As I mentioned earlier, ours is our success metrics are focused on the number of impressions that we get, the reactions, the user engagements, and so on. But you also may want to focus on how long listeners are actually tuning in, and using that metric to determine how you're able to optimize your podcast. So does that mean you need to jump into interviews a lot sooner? Does that mean that more banter is needed within the podcast? And you'll be able to look at how long these users are tuning in or where they're dropping off to dictate how you program your podcast as well. Also, you can try lead generation, right? If people are clicking on links, let's say, that are in your show notes, are they using the call to actions that you're giving them throughout the podcast? These are all things that you can consider when tracking the success of your podcast. And as an ancillary, I would say, are you getting speaking engagements based upon your podcast? Or are you able to monetize that podcast based upon sponsorships? And if so, are you reaching any goals with regard to ad revenue or sponsorship deals and things like that? That also could be a part of some of the KPIs that you would track.
Awesome. So I know you were going to be speaking on this topic at Content Marketing World. What else can people expect from your session on podcasting?
Well, what's interesting about my session at Content Marketing World is you're going to get a side where I have developed a podcast from scratch. And also through my agency, I've also promoted other podcasts as well. So you're going to get a unique perspective from the sense of me bringing in as a case study many of the clients that I've worked with and the success of their podcast, as well as me being a practitioner in the weeds, actually implementing this podcast as well. So everything that I've learned, I'm going to hop on my soapbox and you're going to get all the information, all of my experience so that you can take and run with it so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made.
We all love that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Well, so you'll be at Content Marketing World. What do you love? You've been there several times. What do you love about Content Marketing World?
I mean, what's not to love about Content Marketing World? I mean, if you have any insight into where content is going, if you want to learn a little bit more about where content is going and learn from other practitioners and thought leaders in the space, this is the conference that you must attend. And so, I'm really looking forward to it because you guys have the best speakers there. I really look forward to because the new location in San Diego, which I think is awesome. So really looking forward to that. And you guys have the best after parties. So I'm looking forward to those as well. Yeah.
We take pride in that.
Yeah, I can tell.
Well, thank you so much, Juntae, for taking your time today. And we will see you in just a couple of weeks at Content Marketing World. Thanks so much.
Awesome. See you guys there. Yep.
care.
Bye now.
That was good.
So fun.
Yeah, he was good. Again, he will be, let me pop this off here. Juntae will be speaking. His session is called Amplify Your Brand, Harnessing the Power of Podcasting for Marketing Success. He will have so much more great information at the event, at his session as well. He's just one of the, I don't even know how many speakers do we have. We have a lot of speakers at Content Marketing World. So awesome. All right. So since this is the Content Marketing World edition of Live with CMI, we want to chat a bit about why we think that you should attend the event. Every year, our team puts a ton of time and energy and thought into our CMWorld agenda, making sure we have the top-notch speakers, that we're covering the latest trends in content and marketing, right, JK?
That's right. And, the attendees just don't learn from the speakers. They learn from each other at Content Marketing World. So I think you put something together that's really cool. Let's take a look at that, Amanda.
Every topic you hear, every speaker you hear from, every person you meet has value.
There are some conferences that talk about content marketing, but they're very broad strokes. This is inspirational as well as very tactical.
When you come here, you get to learn from day-to-day practitioners that are in the weeds, that are doing the hard work.
There's just so many things changing so quickly. And every single thing on the agenda was something that I said, that's something I want to know more about.
There's so many speakers and so many sessions, it's hard to pick which one to go to next.
It's awesome to have a variety of industries represented.
I've enjoyed all of the speakers. They've all been very enthusiastic, passionate about what they're talking about.
It's been really great to learn, how they're overcoming problems that we're facing, what the new content marketing strategies are to bring back to my team so that we can just create better, stronger content.
So I was jotting down ideas and notes of things that I can take back and immediately start implementing.
People are really authentic. I feel like you can ask a question and not feel like you're asking a stupid question.
And they really want to build relationships with you, and that you don't find that at every conference.
People are at all different levels, but even the people who've been doing it longer are here to mentor or to give advice.
Next year, let's bring the whole team, because I feel like everyone from my VP to the specialists and the coordinators could get something out of this.
There really is something for everyone.
It is a special place.
That video just warms my heart.
Get you excited for sure. I see Felicia there. You dropped a nice little comment in there about the podcast that you are working on. I know you asked about making money for that podcast. I will ask Juntae to see if he can. I know he's going to cover it in his session, but I'll see if he can jump in there in the chat for you as well. If you're still on the fence about attending Content Marketing World, I check the agenda. Head over there, see what kind of sessions, what speakers, the tracks, everything we have planned for the event. And if you are attending, it's the app is live, I believe, so you can start plotting out what sessions that you would like to attend as well. And as Juntae mentioned, we love a good party at Content Marketing World.
That we do.
This year's celebration is going to be at this awesome new venue called Eve, which offers a 270-degree panoramic view of San Diego Bay. So that is going to be a perfect place to unwind, connect, and celebrate after a full day of learning. We always look forward to that after we've been busy all day, unwind, and we have plenty of stuff planned for that celebration, including a little event that JK always organizes every year. Tell us about that, JK.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Every year, I for the last couple of years, I do this fun little event called a late night drink and draw. And basically, I just love getting people together just to express them, to wind down, have a couple cocktails, a little bit of networking. But the biggest thing is just to express some fun and creativity. So basically, you don't need to be a pro, whether you're an artist or a stick figure master. We've got sketch supplies and prompts ready. Plus, I bring a whole bunch of silly prizes. You can see I have a table full of judges that how it works is I give you a prompt and I give you a few minutes to draw what your interpretation of that prompt is. And then I have some people judging. And if you get picked, you get some JK silly prize. So, and we may have some more shenanigans going on for our CMWorld celebration involving costumes. Am I able to say that?
So for those who celebrate Halloween and love that, we're going to have a little costume contest. JK just showed me his. It's super secret, so I can't say anything about it yet. But we are having a costume contest. The winner will win a meet and greet with Issa Rae. So that will be an awesome. And we have some very creative people that come to Content Marketing World. So I can't wait. What people come up with. So we're going to have games there at our party. We will have someone from our staff even teaching how to do the Thriller dance. So that should be fun as well. So we always love a good party.
We do. And you know what I'm so super excited about this year specifically is because we've always have parties, throughout the whole event, but this year truly does seem like the event space is fantastic, and it does seem like we like to call it the CMWorld celebration. It really does seem like a celebration. It's going to be a lot of partying, a lot of dancing, a lot of fun, and there's so many interactive things for people to do and for networking. I am really, really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so it should be fun. 2 weeks away. We are busy. We hope to see you there. And we will be back next week, actually, 1 week away from Content Marketing World. And we will be chatting with another amazing speaker. Ashley Baker will be joining us to talk about navigating the new social frontier. She's got a fun session planned, so we'll discuss a little bit about that. So until then, be well, and we will see everyone next week. See you, Jake.